I did want to try and move on to the last question, which is basically what are your takes on the next steps after everything that's happened, or the issues that we're facing? What, let's say, top 3 solutions do you think we should pursue in order to kind of rectify what's happening to our people? I know, for example, these are some that have been thrown out in terms of creating a black military movement, segregation as a black community and just us keeping to ourselves, or relocating back to Africa. I mean, are there any solutions that you would want to share, or you think could be the next steps to kind of move towards for this issue?
For me, I don't think that going back to Africa would be, even though I love Africa, and I always have a great time when I'm there, I don't think that that would be a viable solution, because at the end of the day, Black people built this country, and we shouldn't be made to leave just because white people oppress us. That's a problem that they need to fix, as opposed to us just leaving, because there's still going to be racists whether we leave or not. We need to combat the racism as opposed to just going somewhere else. And I know it's been a long road coming, but I feel like we have to combat it. Leaving isn't going to help the situation.
And everyone won't be able to leave.
Right, exactly. And then I think that people need to be involved in their communities more. I know we have a lot of people that go to social media, and, I think that helps, but they need to be more active in their communities. They need to be more politically aware, and they need to educate themselves and educate others. So, and I think that's going to really help. But getting in your community and doing little things, it definitely helps. I know a lot of people don't really even know what to do in their community, but there are ways to affect change within your neighborhood even, and that can help and make a big difference.
Yeah, and I would say, like, as far as the segregation idea, and then also militant movements in the United States, those I don't think will work. First, because the idea of segregation in theory works, right? Because if we have our own and we do for ourselves, then, we'll be okay. The question is, will the people in power, who are the white majority, will they allow that to happen? And the answer is no, because it's not about their hatred of us. They don't necessarily just want us to go away. They want to use our bodies. They want to use us to lift themselves to make themselves feel superior. They want to feel power. They want to use our labor. So they need us to be here in order to do that. So they're not just gonna let us go. And that plays into the militant movement kind of thing as well, because if we arm ourselves, we're only in the United States, Black people are only 13% of the population. So, and our military is so well armed that we could literally level the world if we wanted to. So Black people rising up in the United States just gives them an excuse to kill us. So that's not going to work either. So you kind of get a sense when you start to hear, like, okay, this solution, why won't that work? This solution, why won't that work? Why people feel so hopeless. But at the same time, the good thing that we have in the United States is, and this is maybe controversial, but I actually think the Constitution and the way the law works, if it were used properly, is actually, the foundation is there. The question is, can we force people to use that law properly on our behalf? And that's been something that we have been unable to do as of yet. But I do think that we have to use people in power. Any progress that we've made, we've done it using people that are in power. Lyndon B. Johnson passed the Civil Rights Act, and he's a racist. He always was a racist, but the king and the people that were pushing him were able to move him by putting the eyes of the world on it. So the whole situation that's happening now with George Floyd, the eyes of the world, the eyes of the nation are on us, and people don't want to be embarrassed. They don't want to feel like, oh, we are the ones that have a human rights problem, but we do. So we have to try to take this moment and use it to get where we can. But we have to use the people in power to do that.
And just, I agree that we do need to use the people in power, but we also need to start becoming the people in power.
Yeah.
And by mobilizing and actually making sure that we're voting and getting involved is a way that we can actually do that. So we as Black people need to actually get involved and actually step up in our communities. And that'll be a way to actually gain power and be able to affect change.
And we can weaponize the system and the law.
Africa alone is our history. We all know that. You don't have to say, Black Americans do not have to say, okay, we need to go to Africa and stay there permanently. But what I think, or my opinion is, at least start slowly to start to go into Africa, go at holidays, start to see the Africa, start to see the resources, start to see the understanding, start to see the history, start to see the good side of Africa, because Africa has it. And there's about 10 countries within Africa that Black American can relocate to, because Africa is coming up and is rising up. So perhaps it's because of the history, perhaps because of the segregation, perhaps it's because of the slavery mentality wise, where Black Americans are forgotten African, they're forgotten their roots. And I think that's what needs to come back. We need to educate ourselves. We need to have our own system.
That constitution is controversial. You know what I'm saying? But I don't even want to get into it. But this is all I'm gonna say on that particular constitution thing. Any doctrine that was written in that time is not made for us. That doctrine still says that we're slaves if we're in jail. That doctrine says you're a slave. You're under slave rules when you're inside. And you can be in jail because of a lie. But I'm gonna leave that alone. But with this Africa discussion, okay, so look, both my parents are African, but I was born in America. The first time I went to Ghana was December 2019, like 6 months ago. That was the first time in my life I ever been to Africa. And that's the first time in my life I felt like I belong. That's the first time in my life I didn't feel like, damn, always some bullshit. That's the first time in my life I felt that. I went to London the year before for the first time. It was cool. But I really felt something align in my spiritually when I was in Africa. But like I was telling yesterday, like, it's too deep to try to get. It's too deep to try to you know. I can relate to Black Americans fully, but I'm in an African household. I'm raised in an African household, but all my friends is all Black American. So they get a little bit of my culture, but I'm living their culture day for day. So when they come to my house, they know what my culture is. So they, like, through time and years, they picked up on my culture, and my friends and other people that are from Ghana and of African descent. So they have more of a knowledge to when they touch the ground in Africa, they're my friend. They know that they're safe with me. They know, you know what I'm saying, they can be comfortable. But I know it's not something that you could just say, people go back to Africa. It's not that simple. It's going to take time. But the number one thing, I don't care about the military, all that. I don't care about none of that stuff right there. The number one thing to make us do anything is the Black dollar. We are overpopulated. They say 13% of it. That's a lie. Black people, is too many of us. They kill us. That's why they kill us. That's why they promote you know what I mean, demasculinity. Oh, that's why they promote all of that, because it's too many of us. We producing too much. That's the whole name of this game. They want us to die out, but we can't. It's too many of us in Africa and here. We're too many of us. We've tried to do all that. They killed Malcolm. They killed Martin. They killed everybody. So they've killed some even in jail. It's freedom fighters that people have never heard of. You have to do. It's too much history. But they've tried it after the Emancipation Proclamation, all that, and people started making their transition to the North and to the Union States, that's the most progressive Black people were. Black people have the ignorance level. It's like we're too predictable. The white man, they know we're going left. They know we're going right. They know which way we're going. We're too predictable. That's the problem. We don't know how to do something that's going to throw them off. We keep saying that we can't do it, we got to do this, we got to do that. Everything we say, we've said it time and time. We said it. They know what we're going to do. What we're going to ride. They know they can call it like next week. Last week, 2 weeks ago, Ahmaud Arbery got killed, not by the police though, by regular white people. Next week, this man gets killed. It's always ongoing. A couple months ago, Donald Trump was about to get impeached. After that, it was COVID. We don't even control the media. So whatever we're looking at, we don't even, it's tampered with before it's brought to our eyes. But we believe it. We have nothing. We don't know what we're talking about. Everything we're talking about is what they've told us to talk about. We don't know if it's the truth. That man that they saying is locked up, I don't even think he's locked up, to be honest with y'all. Did y'all see how many people was outside his house? They had to do something like that in the 60s just for a Black girl to go to school, just for a Black girl to get an education. And they did that for, man. So that's what I'm saying. Like, it's so deep. We have to start focusing on ourselves and our dollar and our community. We have to, okay, so look, to me, the Black dollar I'm talking about is in Africa. The Americans that have something established here also have to put their dollar into something back home and be getting a residual income while they're here. Because if you have some business back home, you will have to go back home. And you're going to get that vibe and that feeling that you need, that you've never felt, to make them that register, for you to get that registration to know this place is something for me. If you go to Africa right now, it's no paved roads. Why can't you think as an American, when you get there, like, damn, my people need paved roads. My people, all they want to do in Africa is work. We don't have nothing. They've taken everything from us. America, white, Europe, everybody's taking everything from us. But us, we're here not thinking back like, shit, we made a few dollars while we're here and go back. Everybody, Africa, they're brainwashed and they still want to come to America. Everybody still wants to come here. And we're here and we're not we're not going to even relay the message like, look, this is not really what you want. Let me try to bring a paradise to you before you come and see this. I'd rather you have a paradise and just come here and see, like, and realize what's going on and want to go back. Because it's not worth to love someone that don't love you back. You hurting yourself in the long run. You're gonna live a life of loving someone that never, even showed you how to love. You're not even getting the real definition of love here. You don't know what it is. If it's not amongst your Black people, you don't really know what. Like, it's really, man. I don't know, man. It's too. We can come up with suggestions, but we're not gonna be in unison. It's gonna be somebody that's saying, man, this, that. There's something that we have to agree on. We all need money. We all need it, so like, it's one thing that we all have to come to a common agreement on if we're gonna make any type of change. And we can't be predictable. They can't know what we about to do to plan for it and prepare for it.
Yeah. I know that the ladies just wanted to come in and touch on the Constitution. They wanted to clarify some points that were made around that. But just before that, I just had a question around some of the solutions. And Buffalo, yeah, I think some of the stuff that you've highlighted, though, serious. I totally agree with a lot of the stuff that you said. We are very predictable. But just going back on the Constitution, though, and I think it was mentioned around Black people kind of progressing and putting ourselves in the position of power. And for me, just being in the UK and just seeing what's happening in the US, I know when Obama was in power, we had a lot of these issues around Black people that were being killed just like this as well. I know in a lot of the states that these things are happening, we do have Black, like, what do you call them, senators or Black mayors as well in these states. So when we talk about this whole kind of trying to kind of fight the system, I think it just goes back to what Balfour said regarding the system was not written for us in the first place. And I feel like we're trying to put ourselves in positions that they don't want us in. So unless all that kind of things is rigged up, it doesn't matter if it's a Black person in power, because they're going to follow the same system, which then shows that when you're watching these whole things on TV, you're seeing a Black person as a police officer attacking another Black person. Surely you think that this Black person should know what the problem is. It's like, I'm over here, I'm not even there. I know what that problem is. So I just struggle to understand how you could have another Black person seeing exact same thing. It just shows you that it is systematic. It is some sort of like a family, you want to call it a gang, that when you are part of that, you cannot deviate from what the status quo is, which I feel like this is what boxes a lot of these people in. So regardless whether you're middle class or you're whatever, no, all these Jay-Z's, all these people that we're looking at, where's all these Al Sharpton people or bloody Louis Farrakhan? Where are they? What are they saying about this? Do you know what I mean? And I feel like all these people, personally, if you ask me, I feel like all of them have been bought. All of them are controlled to a certain extent. All of them are watching their money just to understand that, oh, you know what? Maybe it's a sensitive thing. Let me not touch on it because this might actually affect my pocket. So I just feel like the system in itself is what makes this happen. It's not necessarily the people in that system. So unless you are going back to kind of reset everything, you're always going to be in this position because we have had Black people in powerful positions. So I guess at this point here, maybe I'll let the ladies kind of come in to maybe answer my question and some of the stuff that Balfour raised around the Constitution as well.
Yeah, I want to say I completely understand what you're saying. Just to clarify, yes, the Constitution was not written for us, but the way that they did it, because the people who wrote it saw themselves as these great humanitarians, these people who were going to change something from, monarchy. It's pretty revolutionary in the sense that you went from a system where everyone in the world pretty much had these monarchies to government by the people. Now, the question is, who are the people? And they made it very clear in the Constitution that we are not the people, right? But they left openings there. One is the fact that it can be amended. So while things are terrible in our communities, why we're talking about things right now, people are getting killed by cops constantly. We're not slaves anymore. Why is that the case? Why am I not owned by another person? That is because of a constitutional amendment. And it's a constitutional amendment that was made while we were slaves. So it was made by white people. They decided that we would not be slaves anymore. And then they changed into something else. I'm not saying, we were all free, but that period right after the passing of the 14th and 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments, we saw Black people rise to positions of power. They were using the government to rise to positions of power. We had more senators in the late 1800s, more Black senators in Congress than we do today. Than we have at any time since. So I do think that there is an opening there. As a woman, I have certain rights that I did not have. I have the right to vote. I have things that I would not have without the law. And that we just have to I think we can be thoughtful about how we vote. We have to be involved. I think we have more power now, and especially the way the media works, to kind of pull things in our way. One example is something like a universal basic income. Like, we're talking about poverty. It doesn't just affect Black people. It affects Black people more acutely. But if we can cause people to understand that a lot of the things that affect Black people because of racism bring other people down as well. And if we can all kind of get together and vote in the same way, then we can get something, for example, like a universal basic income, which would raise Black people out of poverty and give us more power. Because money is a huge deal as well. So I think we have to think about, what is it that we actually can do? With that said, I feel like that's where I'm coming from. And there's a particular reason why I'm coming from that. Because I don't deal on a daily basis with a lot of the things that other Black people have to deal with. So I think I see it as my job to try to affect things where I am. So if I'm a person who's a social studies teacher who can spin a good argument with somebody at the door and get them to vote in a certain way, I'm going to be knocking on doors come election season. And that's what I do, because I think if I can get this person in power, and then I'm looking at that person and I'm trying to make sure that they're doing what they said they were going to do, that will have some effect. But I do think that it does we're not going to have necessarily a unified solution. I think if we look at that period of the 60s, where we had many different solutions going on in the Black community, and each of them accomplished something different. They didn't accomplish everything that they wanted to accomplish. But I think that if somebody's over here rioting, that's what they should be doing. You know, if somebody wants to try to set up a business in an African country, do that. I think that we kind of need to like think about where our strengths are, where our powers are, and use what we have. I tend to come at things from the perspective of the law and government, because that's a world that I kind of live in. So I see where the opportunities are there.
Yeah. Did any of you other guys wanted to have an input in terms of?
Let me say something. Yeah, I want to say something. Let me say something. Coach just touched on how the laws and the government is not set up for us. But see, like, your perspective is from the ladies. The perspective is from that. That's where you're seeing it. Okay, so like, look, so like, elections coming up, right? Me personally, I have no respect for neither candidates. I don't care to vote for neither one. I'm not voting for Trump. I'm not voting for Biden. Biden, right? He has something to do with that law that put that in the 90s, man. They terrorized the Black community.
Yep.
It was like an act. It was like a jail act law. Some stupid shit they passed, and it terrorized us. People are still feeling it to this day, right? Once you get a felony in this country, your voting rights, let me get that. It's gone. Your voting rights, you don't have it no more. All of this stuff, the felony that you just could have got, it could have been over some petty, dumb, something small. That the white man's like, man, I don't get how to get stuff through. Like, you have to understand. You have to really see it from all angles. You have to look at it from all perspectives. President Obama was president. Man, when he was a president, man, you don't know. I was doing that. I was going to local places. I was getting a sticker. I was wearing I campaigned for Obama to become president. I wasn't even 18. I was 17. I couldn't even vote for Obama when he came, but I put in the work. Obama came, I respected because he's a Black man. Some people are even mad at Obama because Obama didn't do this, Obama didn't do that. But what do you know what who Obama had to deal with? Do you know, do we know? Do we know? Why people talking about the government? Do we know who he had to deal with? Why we getting mad at him? Do you know? Nobody knows. People just say government this, government this. This thing is their forefathers. It's built off Black backs, but the paperwork is written by the white hand. I don't really know any other way to put it. It's not set up for us. I don't have time to sit here and be talking. I don't see it. I don't see it, bro. I don't see nothing. We've been here. They killed all of our prominent leaders. Right now, if gang leaders that was police in the neighborhood, like the George, like the Fords, it's so many names I can't even think of that I gotta write it down. That's sitting in jail right now because they wanted to police the neighborhood. They wanted to do this. They wanted us to take care of ourselves. They killed them.
Powerful. Is there any actual solutions that you see likely, or you would suggest, or you see as a next step?
See, look, this is my solution is what I was talking on before, like about the Black dollar being invested back home. Look, when somebody's doing something I don't like, if somebody don't like me, I'm not gonna keep going towards that person. I'm gonna go the other way. And you, my friend, if you want to keep going, I'm gonna let you keep doing it. But I'm gonna always tell you, like, bro, it's something over here for you. You can come check it out, where you're not gonna deal with that. That's all I'm gonna say. Because at this point, you can't get nothing through nobody. You can't say nothing to anybody. They have to see it. I feel like us, first generation ones that's born here, who have the African connection and the American connection, we have to be the bridge. Like I was telling Cam yesterday, we have to be the bridge to Americans. Like, look, like me, I already know. I already tell my boys every day, like, look, I'm gonna do the groundwork now, but you guys are coming with me. I don't care what you gotta say. Y'all are gonna come with me because y'all been to my house. Y'all done ate the food. We done went to parties. Y'all damn near know the language. Y'all know certain things they say. So it's like, you guys have to see this. I can't talk about it because I was told, there was my mom, everybody that knows me, my Jamaican homie, my Guinea homie, my people from everywhere is like, man, the moment you touch Ghana is gonna do something to you. They told me before I went because they just knew how I was. And that's exactly what happened. And I've been in a trance ever since.
I hear you. I'm a bit conscious of time right now because we are getting on a bit. I did want to give a chance though for the other guys here if you wanted to tell us about any next steps or solutions or what your thoughts are on the 3 examples. I wanted to go over with Ali, if you are able to kind of quickly give us your side of things.
Well, I definitely echo after what he's saying. I definitely, he knows exactly what he's saying, and it's not to dismiss other participant or anything of their understanding. Well, for me personally, Africa is the lights. That's where we came from. Forget about all blacks in every country of every continent. You understand? Just forget about that. Africa is where the center is. Africa is where the mother of all creation is. Africa is where all the resources, right? This is what I don't understand. Like in America, there has been over 400 years of slavery. When do you ever think that's going to end? 400 years until now, it's still happening. It might not happening. It might not be exactly as slavery where you have the plantation and so on, but it is still happening there. Why is it a black person, as a normal human being, you get stopped, you want to react, you want to stand your ground, is a trouble? Or why is it a normal person, just want to have a good job, want to come out of the poverty, is a problem? And why is it that anything that you do because of your skin color as black, there's a problem? Those are the factors that need to be looked at. Yes.
What is the solution though? What is the
Well,
solution?
that's what I'm getting at. The solution is go to Africa. You don't have to go straight away. It's not it's not like a definite, like you go there and say, I'm not coming back. No, go have holidays, frequently go holidays, and then slowly you're investing, and then eventually you understand the perspective of what it is from Africa to America. For me personally, even me when I'm in the UK right now, my long-term goal is not to stay in the UK. My long-term goal is to go back to Africa. That's what I am. Because in this country, I experience racism. I work in construction. I experience racism. And the reason why I said I experience racism is that I want to go in certain level of my life in construction. And because you are a threat or you have that perspective of you, they know that you are, once they allow you to come into that zone, they know that you're going to skyrocket the limit. They know that. So because of that, they will depress you at any cost. They will depress you and making sure that you do not go higher. The higher you can go is probably senior position. You know, that's it. But if I have my own business, I'm higher. I can do everything I want. So for me personally, my solution is, if we don't go to Africa, or Black Americans do not go to Africa, there has to be something needs to be done, which is by unite, do exactly what the Jewish are doing. Forget about everything else. Just do exactly what Jewish are doing, and then you will see the result. For me, there is a hope. There is a hope, regardless of what is happening. I believe there's a hope, and that hope, it has to be within the Black Americans. They have to solve their own problems, right?
Yeah.
We are here to solve our problems and help you guys out, but there is a hope. That's what I think.
Yeah, I think for me, I originally came in this conversation with this idea of the one solution being migrating to Africa. But I think from some of the points that has been highlighted in this, that might be the best solution, but I don't think it's the practical solution. And the reason why I say that is obviously I feel like as Black people, sometimes it's just about searching and finding yourself and being authentic with yourself, because we do start a lot of movement when it comes to like where the money is, how we're using our money. And a lot of the times what usually happens is that 1 week there'll be something to say, don't spend your money here, but what happens thereafter? What's the follow on? We don't have structures set up in place to allow these things to kind of move forward. Obviously people might have their own views of what they had of the Nation of Islam, but you could remember from the initiation, the structure that they put in place was actually working before we know the demise of it and everything else that happened. That structure that they set up regarding keeping the money in the Black community was working. So I think for me, really, it's not just a one solution. And I think also when you look back at history and you're looking at Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, you have to understand that they were both kind of, there were different messages that were being put forward. And it was those different messages. It's like a yin and yang. You have to attack it from all sorts of different angles. It can't just be one solution. And even when you're using the example of South Africa and you're looking at Mandela, people keep talking about Mandela, but Winnie Mandela had to put everything in place for Mandela to be able to kind of come in and take the credit of him being able to liberate South Africa. So I feel like with a lot of these kind of stuff, we have to approach it from so many different angles. And I definitely agree with the point that Bafum made regarding being able to kind of like come in we're very predictable in our approach to some of these things. And that's the stuff, because they already know what we're going to do before we do it. You know, when it comes to like movements that's been set up, they've infiltrated these movements. They've kind of, Black Lives Matter now have all become All Lives Matter, when everyone knows what the problem is. And these are kind of stuff that they do to kind of break down systems that's been set up in the Black community. And we could go back to the Black Panther and how they kind of went into that system by pumping cocaine. They do these kind of stuff. Do you know what I mean? So we have to, when we're talking about solutions, I don't think it can just be one solution. And as I said, I think really looking down, the only solution for you to really feel that you are loved by your people, and it's only that sense of belonging you get when you go to Africa. It's hard to explain, but anyone that's lived in the Western world know this when they actually travel. So I feel like in regards to us being comfortable in our skin, I feel like that's like the solution, the best solution. But I think, as a lot of people have kind of mentioned, it's not the most practical solution. And I'm not sure more if you are going to move over to the girls, but I know the girls wanted to kind of touch on some points for this kind of wrapping up session as well. So I was going to kind of bring them in at this point.
I just want to say one thing for the girls to say something, because I want to hear the girls too, because I value what they say. I value their point. I actually want to even talk to them after this. But with the Nation of Islam and the structure thing, that goes along with what he was saying about how somebody will get to a certain level and they will stop, like in America, like they will stop that man from progression, or like you won't maximize your full potential, because there'll always be a barrier that these people put in place, right? So them Farrakhan's and them NOI, they have structure, but the white man has a hold on them. You have to know that's why they killed Malcolm. You have to understand everything you talk. You have to really do the research. It's crazy, man. The white man had a hold on. They have a hold on Farrakhan and the NOI. There was and that's why Malcolm and Elijah Muhammad, they had a riff at, because Elijah Muhammad told Malcolm to not speak on Kennedy. Don't say his. That's how they want to control you. They're telling you, don't say his name. You can't say his name. If you say his name, you're out of this. You're banished from the NOI. And he did it, and they banished him. Yeah. So you gotta know what's going on, man. It's deep. It's something right here, but it's something behind it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. Now it's funny you mentioned that, because we have had a conversation about that. I forgot the episode, but we did have a conversation based on a Netflix series. So we are aware they infiltrated the organization and they had informants and all that kind of stuff.
And then they made it seem like we kill it. I mean, the black man. It's deep, man. It's messed up. But yeah, I want the girls. I'm ready to hear.
Okay. Yeah, it's been. I guess, is this kind of like the wrap up where, but it's been a really great conversation so far. I'll just kind of, I was trying to like jot down my thoughts on the things that people were saying to kind of respond. And I agree, like I could literally do this forever, but yeah, I think as far as like moving forward, what solutions there really are. And, you know, I think in my mind, that's kind of like always where I am. I want to know what can we do in order to get where we want to be. But also I think it's really important that we mitigate harm where we can. So for example, like, I mean, I do understand the instinct to say like, oh, I just want to like, I don't see the system working for me, so why should I vote, for example, in the system? But to me, I think that voting is important because we only have two choices. Yes, it's wrong that we only have two choices, but one of those people will be the leader of the country. And then even at all of the other levels down the ticket. You know, you go in and vote, you're voting for the president, you're voting for everybody down to like your local commissioner. And those people have power. So I don't think it hurts to try to pick the one that you think might actually not do as much harm. One will always do more harm than the other. And the thing I always say is, you may not care about what the government does, but the government cares about you. And they're going to be in your business. They're going to be there. Those laws are going to affect you, and they're going to affect other people. Laws about things like people who immigrate to the United States, people getting their children taken away from them. You know, these things are affected by the people who are in power and the laws that they're making. So I think, you know, sometimes we just have to do our best to mitigate harm. I think the question about moving back to Africa is a really, it's an interesting one, and I think it's an important one. I think when I visit, I have two feelings at the same time. I get that same sense of like, I'm not in the minority here. This is where, in at least some vague sense, I'm from, you know, and there is a very powerful feeling of being on the continent. But at the same time, I also feel very acutely how that history was stolen from me. And how, in a sense, I can never say like, oh, I'm from Ghana, or like, I'm from Nigeria. I don't really know what part of that continent I'm from, like who my family is. I know that like a good percentage of Black people in America can trace their patrilineal heritage back to Europe because of all the rape that happened during slavery. So there, all of that is there. So while I do think that we have to, I think it's an important experience for people to have to go to Africa. I do think we need to be putting our money there when we travel. And I do think that there are a lot of Black people in America who see it as like some backwards place that they're afraid to go to. And there's like beautiful cities that, you know, that racism affects us as well. This idea that like Africa is some place where you just shouldn't go. So I think we have to undo that. But I don't know if that's a solution to the problems that we have, for example, with like police killing Black people in the United States. So that we can only kind of deal with as it is. I won't say everything I wrote down, but let me see. Yeah, and just to mention, the Liberia example is a really important one, because that movement was about like having a state for people in Africa, people who were former slaves in the United States. And the problem is that even in Africa, it's not free of racism. Racism is global. Mm-hmm. White people came in and raped that all of those countries as well. They stole the people, they stole the resources. And yes, Black people in Africa have been coming back from that. But I do think it's important to understand that like the world, because especially of global financial systems, is going to be affected by the power that white people have. You can't escape it geographically. So
I got one
I think
question.
it's important that we look at that as a whole. Okay, go ahead.
I want to ask you guys just one question. This one question
Mm-hmm.
right here. All right. So if you go to, say we was in Africa, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just all of us that's in this group chat, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, on the Zoom call, and you two see a white man, right? You two see a white man, and you want that land, and you want that land. You can't tell them that this shit is mine. You can't say this is my land, and you're not from. Can you not tell them that? No matter on any country on that continent, if a white man is going at it back and forth with you over can you not sit there and tell him it's my land, and then y'all work a way to get him out of there? Because I'm gonna be with you. I'm gonna work with you to finesse you to get a position, like how they'll finesse him to get you a white man a position over here. I'm not gonna let him get that land over you, never, because they've been here. Like how y'all said, there's racism there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So I want to see if I want to see if y'all feel like y'all be fought for on another, on that land, like on that land. Cause I know that I see where y'all coming from, but I want to put it in a perspective. Like, I see how y'all said there's racism there. Both of y'all said it in unison, but y'all know where that racism came from. And
Right, yeah. The
absolutely.
entire continent
Absolutely.
was, all
It's a
but two
global
countries
problem.
were colonized.
Exactly.
All
So
but
do you
two
think that-
countries were colonized. So
all right. So just like we know here, don't you think the people there know too?
yeah,
Absolutely.
So okay. So if they see you, so the people there see you and they know you're speaking fluent English, you're not from there, and they see the white man speaking fluent English. Who do you think they feel comfortable, even though they don't know you? You're just black. They're black, and they're looking at both of y'all. Who do you feel like they're gonna be like, nah? And imagine if it's a woman and they see y'all. Imagine how it's gonna make them feel. Imagine what y'all are doing to their spirit and soul, standing in a white man's face and not going for it. And that's not you guys are speaking two different languages, but you did something to her. She's like, yeah, girl. In her language, she's like, yeah, get her. You get what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying. I really do want to keep it going because we have been here for quite some time now.
We gotta talk off the record.
We definitely can carry this on. Trust me, we can talk for ages and ages.
I know. Yeah.
The input that I wanted to add is in terms of solutions. I always basically re-quote this quote whenever I'm thinking of any solution to any problem, and it's basically, can I have the courage to change the things that I can control? Can I have the serenity to accept the things that I can't change? And then the wisdom to know the difference. Yeah. So what I find is a lot of the time is we really need to have some kind of self-reflection in terms of the things that we can do and the things that we can't do, and knowing between the two. And how I look at a lot of things in terms of systems or states or whatever, I always understand, you know what, let me first understand exactly how things work. And then by understanding how things work, how can I make it work for me? Or how can you make it work for you? Yeah. And once you get that kind of ideology down first in terms of what you want to do, then you can go forward in terms of solutions. And in terms of what's been happening and everything that's going on, I do feel ideally the best solution is returning to Africa or the Caribbean. Practically, I personally think the segregation element is more, I think, something that would work in terms of segregating the black community as a community, but then you don't have to be loud and tell everyone, oh yeah, we're black and we're only dealing with black and this, that. Just like how the Jewish communities have set up very well in the US and in the UK. You'll even get in terms of certain niches of the Asian communities, Chinese, this, that, all their little communities. At home, you do segregate in some kind of way. You may not know it, but you do in terms of how you spend your money or do things or whatever. But I do feel in terms of understanding how things work, like for me personally, I don't vote. And the reason why I don't vote is because I proper looked into exactly how the whole voting system works. And a lot of it is democracy disguised as hypocrisy. And if you really, really do understand in terms of how they've intentionally made certain votes more local, and then how there's only two main parties and no one else can add in or whatever. If we really wanted an actual typical general vote, you should be able to just vote for Democrat, whatever, and then as a whole, the whoever gets the most percentages wins. It doesn't work like that. It's done by each state, done by each local thing, whatever, and it kind of changes, and that's similar in the UK. They kind of do the same thing. Nothing is a general, actual whole decisive. And as soon as they do something like that, that's how you get things like Brexit that happened here. Because Brexit wasn't done locally or whatever. It was simply a yes or no. Do you think we should leave? Do you think we should not? And then whatever percentage of all those total votes came is what happened. And I do accept in terms of, if this is what the majority want, I'm them people that holds their hands up and say, fine, all right, fine. If this is what everybody wants, I'm happy to move and leave and go somewhere else where everything is fine and works out for me. And obviously I know that's not ideal for everybody in terms of growing up somewhere, this is the life you've built, this is what you've done, and this isn't really the ideals that you want. But I do accept in terms of like, you know, when you're in a workplace where you do all the good work and you're basically built this company up and done this and that, but the people at the top, they have all their policies deep in place that are designed for a certain outcome or a certain thing. I know in a recent episode I talked about the whole representation thing of Black people being represented in certain positions of authority. And what I was saying is, even if you had a head dragon that was Black for the KKK, it doesn't mean that the organization as a whole is basically going to stop abusing Black people or doing whatever. The infrastructure is designed in a certain way, and you coming in from the outside aren't going to change that. And I think it's accepting what you can do and what you can't do in those elements. So in terms of solutions, I do feel us coming together, uniting, segregating, keeping our pound, our dollars, our spending. If you are going to vote, I reckon you should vote on a quick pro quo kind of ideal, in terms of, if I'm going to vote, what am I getting out of it? If I'm not getting out of it, then you're not getting my vote, or you're not getting my support, or anything like that. And I feel if we don't hold people accountable in those circumstances and in those elements, then I think we're the fools if we keep doing the same thing and expecting something different to happen in that sense. But yeah, that's how I concluded it. I did want to know if any more questions came through to Kojo, or anyone wanted to add on before we quickly go.
No, there wasn't. There are not. I think all the questions have been answered. I think Kofi had a question around segregation, but I think the ladies touched on it and you've just touched on it. So
can I try and come in with something as well? Sorry. So I was listening to what everyone was saying, but it's like everyone was coming on different things, and I feel that that's the whole structure of what's actually been going on, and it's a whole ploy to have people distracted, because it comes down from many things, in a sense of why we're painted in certain ways. So where Black people are painted in a way that's aggressive. So if a Black person's aggressive, it's normal. If a white person's aggressive, they're acting out of character. So it's a distraction clause that I feel that they try to do in many things. Just coming down to like smearing. If you see someone with a good point, the media will paint it, will just bring up everything else that they've done wrong or something, but it's still a good point, but they'll smear it. It's just distractions of keeping you off course. And I feel like, as Mo was saying, most times when people are doing something, they're loud about it, but that's not how things are done to us, because you've got to remember that just like a game of chess, someone knows exactly what they're going to do next. And if they can see it coming, they know how to plan for it better, in the sense of like different versions of power. And I'm just talking from a male perspective, like power has a Black male perspective, I feel power has always been shifted, but it's never been shifted to an actual Black male. It's shifted to the oppression of women. So the women had power, and then they turned that around by bringing in, let's say, gay people have more power than, or people of different orientations or sexual orientations. And I feel that we need to just stop being distracted and come in as a team, because it's teamwork that counts and builds, because we don't know, we're not strong enough to be holding ourselves accountable with certain things. It's an easier way to just knock it down in a sense of distracting it or bringing in something else that will come in. And I feel that's a solution, in the sense of educating people. So we all know of different shows and places where they try and give us a story, but subliminally. So it's like, I watch something called The Good Fight, and they're not just loud about it. They do it in a way that, listen, if you understand what they're actually trying to express and point out, they're just giving you awareness. So they'll give you different times, they'll give you episodes where they're giving you awareness of how everything's just capitalization. In a workplace, it's actual norm, even for the bosses, to pay a white person more than a Black person, because a white person can shift from different places easier. That is their way of keeping hold of them. And it's true, I wouldn't knock it for a business, because you can pay a Black person less because they've got less chance of moving around. You can have a fully educated Black person, yeah, in a place, fully educated, but he's got a smear on him, which is the distraction that makes him feel ill-qualified. And as Balfour was saying with the dollar, with the Black dollar, it comes down to your effectiveness. As Black people, we're counted on how effective we are. White people are counted by paper. because their effectiveness, we can be as clever as we want to be, but they're counted on what connections they have. They're counted on everything else. A black person can have connections, but they can be sold out and bought out. We need to be stronger as a unity to even think about doing anything else. So right now, the unification that we're having is actually anger. So as much as I'm not trying to condone the anger of the way people are reacting about it, but it means that, listen, we're actually unifying in a way, and it's a way that we're seeing each other unify. It's crazy because the teamwork, we're brought out by so many things. Let's say we're doing something strong. I feel that government just funds something that will distract us, like this whole, why there's such an influx in people that aren't actually artists. The music that we're listening to is by so many different things because they're trying to give hope to people in that realm, but they know that those people that they're giving the opportunities to are going to spend it in the wrong way. They're not actual people that we're supporting, that have a voice, that have anything to stand for. Because as a community, we're welcoming in it all the distractions. I feel like it's just distractions that we're doing, and we need to stop being distracted and start understanding everything that's coming from every part, because of the fact that, like, I'm just talking from personal experience. I'm sorry, people, but it's like I can educate myself as much as possible, be out of any reach or anything, to a point that I'm gonna become a voice for something. But to shut me down, there's something that they've thought of a long time ago, and it's, look, if a black boy has a criminal record or something like that, then there's something that you can knock them down for in the future. Do you get where I'm coming from? Because everyone has their learning curves. The white people have it, the black people have it, but they're more lenient on the black people, because with the black people, they're more lenient on the white people, sorry, because with the black people, it's gonna, if you do result into something that you can bring back to Africa, to where you're gonna go to, it's not gonna stand for anything because they'll distract you with something here first. So most of the people that can have that power, the people that are in the limelight, they're distracted. They're actually distracted by trying to become the biggest gangster here, or trying to do this and that, and it's the distractions that lead them to unify the thoughts of a white person into saying that this is how most black people act. Because of the followings that they get, because of everything that they have, it allows the norms. So if we're stronger as a community and teaching each other to be showing ourselves as black people, as respectable people in all accounts, the white person that starts to show themselves in a sense of, let's say, thuggery or something violent, they get welded, they get moved into something else. So let's say, like, it's like they're brought into something of money, but they're coerced into, like, if you want to stay in this community, you've got to do it our way because they've got a bigger focus on it. But that just goes down to just many other things. But I think that's the solution. I think if we come as a unity, just like the Jewish did, they came as a unity, but they didn't say it loudly. But they were coming correct. They came in, listen, we need to get education. Let's get that first. We're starting one bit by bit. We're distracted by doing so many things at once that I feel that's the problem that we've got. And that's it. Sorry.
Thank you guys, man.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you guys for the conversation, and I just wanted to make a couple recommendations, no more comments. This book, I read it recently. It's called Stamped from the Beginning. I'll type it in so Kaj can send that out to people. It's by Ibram X. Kendi. It just kind of goes through, the subtitle is The Definitive History of Racist Ideas in America. It really talks about the systems in a way that I hadn't, as a person who studies this for a living, I hadn't really thought about it in this same way before. And I really think he has some interesting, he doesn't necessarily give solutions, but I think it could be a good starting point to have that common understanding that some of you guys were mentioning. And then the other thing, just as far as like what kind of brought us here, is police violence and things like that, sort of understanding how those systems work, especially in the United States. I don't know if you guys have heard of the podcast Serial. It was like really popular because of the first season where all these awards were won, and they were investigating one case of a 17-year-old who was accused of murdering his girlfriend. And that one got all of this attention, and they had a season 2 and they had a season 3. Season 3 got no attention, but it was about the court systems, from all the way from people's first interactions with police to how Black kids get put into the juvenile system and how their record is used against them, and what happens behind closed doors. And they're just looking at one city, which is Cleveland, Ohio, in the United States, just as an example. And they go in depth over like 12 or 13 episodes. So I would really recommend Serial season 3 for understanding more about that. And then just thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, everybody. Welcome to the LDN Perspective. All your input has been amazing. We appreciate you all.
Yeah,
We've got the YouTube. If you want to add any questions or comments, we can continue this on. Just search LDN Perspective on YouTube. We'll put the video up and you can comment on it further. We've got the Instagram page as well. And we've also got the email, ldnperspective@gmail.com.
Perspectives, different views, one voice.